Serious, people who have twin siblings but are not a twin themselves. How is your relationship with your twin brothers or sisters? I'm 18 and have twin sisters that are 4. I love them so much and they look up to me like I'm almost a third parent. I don't feel jealous of their bond or anything since it's such a large age gap. I wouldn't trade them for anything. I'm 22 and have twin sisters that are 6. It really is like being an extra parent, but you always get to be the fun one and can always make the real parents play bad guy. I love them more than anything, and they look up to me more than I thought it was possible for anyone to do. Older twin sisters. It's fine. I don't think them being twins has had any effect on our relationship, except when they would come to my school to help out. People would feel the need to come up to me and be like, wow, your sisters are hot and they're twins. Why are you telling me this? Go tell them if you feel that way. But seriously, it is more of a big deal between them than it is for me. It's not like they're Siamese twins. My older brother and sister are twins. I'd say my relationship with them is fine. Growing up, I think they largely shut me out of their lives. As adults, I think that aspect has diminished, but is present in other ways. We don't talk a lot, but when we do, we can talk about most things. It's a much better relationship than when we were kids. I have younger twin brothers, 19M. They are 4 years younger than me, 23F. We don't have a bad relationship, but we aren't super close. It doesn't help that they are extremely quiet and soft-spoken around family. Regardless, I am very proud of them and all their accomplishments. I hope that as we get older, we will become closer. Regardless, I am very proud of them and all their accomplishments. I hope that as we get older, we will become closer. AWW. My twin little brothers, they're 3 years younger than me, were born on the same day as me, different year. They interrupted my Batman birthday party, so they can go frick themselves. My twin brothers were born 15 months before me. People thought growing up we were triplets because we all looked a lot alike. The main thing was I was a huge tomboy growing up because of them, but it was me versus them growing up. They did this thing where they would match shoulders and hug with the other arm and gleefully say twins as kids. It bugged the frick out of me because it was at that club I wasn't in. I ended up moving in with one of them after high school. One time we got drunk together and my brother got up and put his shoulder on mine and hugged me and said twins in a child's voice. I finally felt included. Oh, that's really sweet. My twin sisters are 8 years younger than me, so I have a typical older brother relationship with them. I've always adored them and tried to be a good brother. One has kids now, and both have moved far away in their own lives, so we don't see each other very often, but they still seem to respect my opinion on stuff. It's not very different than my relationship with my other younger siblings, to be honest. The fact that they are twins stopped being important a long time ago. The fact that they are twins stopped being important a long time ago. As a twin, this made me smile. I have younger sisters who are twins. We are 6 years apart, and they are freakishly close, so it might have been weird. However, I think part of their closeness actually stems from the way my other sister, 4 years younger than me, and I were inseparable during early childhood. Now that we're all at least in our teens, the groups have merged and all 4 of us are pretty solid. The twins still kind of have their special connection, but we all have our own relationship with each sister. It helps that we're all a slightly different kind of nerd, so we can share what we're into and still form a sort of separate identity. My brothers are twins and are 2 years older than me. Growing up they would gang up on me a lot, lots of teasing and getting pushed around. I guess it was mostly normal sibling interactions, but it was pretty rough for me at the time. Now that we're all adults I have a much better relationship with them, but they are still much closer to each other than to me. I still tend to feel left out since they do so much together and rarely invite me, but I try not to take it too personally. I have younger twin brothers. They are younger by 3 years. We went through phases of getting along and not, as all siblings do, but they would team up against me constantly and it felt unfair a lot. But I'm an extrovert and had a lot of friends, so even though they have a much closer relationship with each other than me, I don't really feel left out. I'm living on my own now and they are still at home, so we're not super close right now, but I would still say fairly close. I have an older brother by almost 3 years and twin younger brothers by 5 years. They're best friends. played lacrosse and did math competitions together through high school. I try to relate with them as much as I can, now that they're starting college when I'm 2 years out, but a lot of it just wouldn't translate because of the age difference. Something I think about a lot is that there isn't much I could say to one that I wouldn't say to the other. As much as I can acknowledge their individuality, they're kinda just two recipients of the same conversations and jokes. But we all team up on the oldest, because he is a freaking weeb. That last sentence made me chuckle out loud. I have younger twin brother and sister. My sister's is the carbon copy of me, so we're really close. My brother just recently started liking me. Congratulations. Unfortunately, my teenage sister is still in the process of hating me, but I'm sure she'll get better once she goes to college at least. I have two older twin brothers. Growing up I was very left out because I was younger and therefore we were into different things. Around when I turned 13 I became really close with one of my older brothers and I always copied him. I played the same video games, played the same sports, liked the same colors, and we always talked about school and stuff, though I couldn't relate to him because I was younger and our schools were a lot different. Right now I am pretty close with both my brothers and often visit them. Sounds like a normal relationship with non-twin siblings to me. Kinda nice when we get closer to our siblings as we age. I am from a family of 3 sets of twins and 1 sister. I don't know if I fit into this, but I am 23 and my twin just passed away due to a boat accident. Wear life jackets. But I could not imagine either my older brother or my younger brother losing their twin. I can't believe I won't see him age with me, and I don't think I've got past that fact of his passing. Hopefully time and the good memories keep me going, but my relationship with my family is and will always be strong. I have no clue how I would be functioning if I lost my twin. I don't know how you are, but I give you major props. I'm very sorry for your loss. I'm the older sibling of triplets. I always have felt left out. It seems like my mom and dad are a group, the triplets are their own group, and I'm by myself. Family vacations are fun, but even when I try to include myself I feel excluded. The 3 of them seem to share the same brain. One of them says something, the others finish the sentence and or know instantly what they are talking about. They are 18 and I'm 20. Nothing has changed, and every time I try to talk about it, something gets in the way. My parents are wonderful, but they are soulmates. They understand each other in every way. Anyway, I stand out like a sore thumb. Mom and dad, triplets, me. I have older, 3 years twin sisters, and they're as close as can be. One year they bought each other the exact same birthday card. Anyway, they've never made me or any of my other siblings feel left out, or made us feel as if they were too good for us. I've got a pretty cool family. Something I can contribute to. So I'm currently 18 and my brother and sister are 15. My brother has basically been my best friend since he was old enough to play hang out with me. We used to, still do, spend all day sitting next to each other playing co-op video games. My sister is a love pretend to hate each other relationship. She is someone I can always laugh with no matter what the subject. We also hate on each other to each other's faces. I suppose it would be way different if they were the same sex. They would probably be best friends and I'd be the outsider, but they don't hang out together much at all. They talk and stuff, but all their friend groups are different from each other's, etc. I'm extremely happy with our relationships. My siblings are triplets. They're 7 years younger. I'm 21, which has put some tension on our relationship throughout the years as I've got a mother hen complex. I always tried to mother them, and still do frankly. They often gang up on me, especially in recent years. They're growing into individuals but still see themselves as a team, and I hope they never ever lose that friendship. That being said, they look up to me like nobody else, and even when I say it drives me crazy I absolutely love it. They take my advice and they want me to be a part of everything they do. We lost our dad suddenly back in April, and ever since I've really been trying to step up into that parent role and be there for them in these years of critical awkwardness. It's hard for all of us, but now I'm seeing that big age gap as a real blessing. They stick together and hold each other up, and I can be that other patent figure for them. I don't know what I would do without them. I don't know what you would do if they weren't triplets. I love them dearly. My heart is in thirds. You're pretty awesome. Good on you for being there for your siblings. It's okay now, but pretty bad when I was a kid. My twin sisters are 5 years older than me, and whenever I would get in a fight with one of them, they would gang up on me and beat me up, and my mom got pee if I hit them back. It ended when I turned 12 and we had our final battle. It was like something out of a movie. They were both coming at me. Usually I ran to try to get out of the way, but this time I was tired of it. I ran at one of them, picked her up, and threw her at a couch. I picked the other one up and threw her on top of my other sister. Then I held them down until they cried and stopped struggling. We've maintained an uneasy detente for almost 20 years now. They're not twins, but my younger siblings are triplets. I usually say oh yeah it's hectic and crazy lol, but really I don't imagine it's all too different from a family with 4 kids at different ages. Sure, it's gonna suck when they all go off to college at the same time and everyone goes wow triplets? That's crazy, but really it's not that amazing. 38-year-old male with younger twin brothers, younger by 4 years. I have always gotten on well with the older of the two. He's super smart and a really nice guy, but ever since I can remember, I've fought with the younger twin. I live on the other side of the world to them now, but when we do meet up, which is usually only once every 2 or 3 years, it's not long before another argument kicks off. I guess we bring out the worst in each other. About 8 years ago, both of my brothers came out as gay. It took me back a little, but I wasn't completely surprised. I guess there were plenty of signs. I just didn't pick up on them. When I was younger, my brothers used to have this secret language only they could understand. I remember being so upset and so left out that it was an inside joke and I'm on the outside. Now their secret language is more like a trust I'll never be able to penetrate. I have 2 older brothers who are 2 years older than I am. We are close and growing up with them was easy, since we are all into the same things like sports, video games, etc. One thing that made our relationship different from others is that one of them was born deaf and has apraxia, which has made communication with him difficult at times. My brothers are twins and I'm 5 years older. I think we all get along really well, but they're definitely closer to each other than they are to me. They go to the same school and have the same friends, and I don't think they've ever been separated for more than 1 or 2 days. I don't spend nearly as much time around either of them. My twin sisters are 3 years younger than I am. Awesome things. Somehow we've always been the same height, so we are regularly mistaken for triplets, and it's a fun joke we all play along with whenever people ask about it. Sharing shoes and clothes. Our combined wardrobe is huge. We always have each other for girls' nights out. Not so awesome things. When I get into an argument with one twin, the other nearly always takes her side. This was particularly maddening when we were younger because they'd gang up against me. Confiding in one twin means the other twin will hear about it. Guaranteed. Even though we get along well these days, sometimes I feel like a third wheel when I hang out with them because of that inevitable super twins connection effect. I am 23 and have older twin brothers, 25, and younger twin sisters, 13. They are both identical sets. I am also going to mention that my family has 8 kids in total. Living with 2 sets was definitely an awesome experience. The one thing I've noticed is that most rumors are true about twins. Both sets of twins definitely have a strong bond and can feel each other's vibes. If A is upset, B will know why without even asking. Same with C and D. It's definitely common for them to finish each other's sentences, and it's happened a couple of times where they laugh for no reason and then will agree and walk away. Elaborate prank maybe. They very much have their own personalities. One twin is friendlier, the other more shy. One twin sister is more girly, the other twin is more tomboy. As far as the relationship, since there were 8 kids, we are all pretty close. No one is excluded in our family because of how we were raised. Individually, I have great relationships with both sets. Sometimes I forget they are twins for the simple fact that I notice all of the differences between them. I can read their moods and can tell when something is going on, both good and bad. There are other times where I genuinely mix them up, especially when they pull crap like calling the other twin their name. Who even does that? Oldest siblings of Reddit. What do you hate about being the oldest sibling? We had rules of when you get to X age you'll get X thing you're allowed to do, like stay up later, watch worse rated movies, etc. But I was the oldest kid of 3, and the second I was allowed to do anything my little bros were instantly allowed to do it too. I paved the way for you guys. Having to beat hard bosses and levels for my younger siblings. Learn to play, you scrub. Opposite here. I've been kicking my older brother's ass at anything from Mario Kart to Halo for 20 years. My older brother told me his whole life he hated the fact that whenever he made a mistake he was a big disappointment to our parents, but when the rest of us made the same mistake later, our parents were already pretty much over it. I just bought a motorcycle and my parents went out of their goddamn minds. My brother said he had been waiting a long time for one of us to get a bike first so he didn't have to be the disappointment. I passed all my A levels but got crap grades and it was like the world was ending. My brother failed everything twice and it wasn't a big deal at all. Hearing the fricking "you are his hero" speech from your parents. IDKY, I hate that so much. Am I the only one? Number. I'm the younger sibling and I hate it too. She idolizes her brother. No I don't, mum. When things go wrong and your parents aren't able to be there for you, it's usually the oldest sibling that has to step up. My mom got sick when I was in high school and college, and everything then became my job. I'd go buy the groceries after school. I'd get home early to cook for everyone. I would take my brother out to buy clothes supplies. I had to do the majority of the cleaning. It has left me a little bitter. I was 16-17 and trying to raise my sibling because my mom couldn't. I had all the house mom duties and none of the perks. Basically having to be kind of a parent for them. I always learn with my little brother, make him food and tell him not to eat that snail right now when my parents aren't around. He also usually gets stuff earlier than I did. I got my first phone when I was 13. He got it this year. He's 11, but he had to do chores earlier as I did so it kind of evens out a little. My brother got every privilege at a younger age than I did. We're 4 years apart. I had to wait until I was 12 to listen to the parental advisory music. My brother then complained about how it wasn't fair and my mom caved a few months later. Same with having my own phone line, watching PG-13 movies, you name it. Man, I had to go to bed at 8 until I was 12 because my sister would kick up so much fuss that we went to bed at different times. 3 years apart. The leniency given to the younger siblings. As the oldest you're basically the guinea pig for your parents so it's usually easier for the younger ones. Exactly, and your parents getting mad at you for things that years later, your siblings do without punishment. I'm the oldest of 6, and we're all in our 30s and 40s now. But back about 15 years ago when I was in my 20s and my parents were getting divorced, I was the one they both wanted to vent to because they were too immature to talk rationally to each other. So as the oldest I was stuck with a lot of go-between tasks, which I did not enjoy at all. Well, my parents are having money problems. It's been going on for a year and is semi-fueled by alcohol and pot. They've been borrowing from all us kids, there's 7 of us. For a year only none of us knew it was every sibling, nor the extent of the abuse. We recently realized this and have had big discussions amongst ourselves on how to handle it. Since I'm the oldest I've been nominated to have a serious talk with them tonight. So there's that. Wish me luck, guys. Wishing you the best of luck from one eldest to another. I am old enough to remember how things really were, but my sister and brother believe the rewritten version. You have to be a good role model, and I have to babysit my sisters often. I was the oldest of all my cousins so at every family gathering I was the go-to babysitter. Bearing the brunt of parent stress and being an unpaid therapist. Until you move out, and then you just hope the next youngest can make it through those next few years relatively unscathed. Being the executor of our parents' wills. As the youngest, I'm kinda glad I am not the oldest, or middle. They are both on the list for medical decisions, not me. I am not the one to say, pull the plug. That would be hard. Responsibilities. Being constantly snitched on. You didn't raise your siblings well. My siblings and I used to fight, but we never snitched on each other. I had to buy both of my first cars but my younger sister had both her first cars bought for her. Oh, the car bulls. My brother has totaled 3 cars by now, has been driving for 3 years, has more speeding tickets than I could count and had to go to court for driving 110 km/h over the speed limit on 2 separate occasions. All of this has been paid for by my parents, but I get yelled at for wanting to get a college degree because apparently that is a waste of money. The pressure to always be fine, always be okay. There was very little room for me to ever not be anything but put together and composed. I've had to have my crap together since I was like 8. I learned long ago to not ask for help. Siblings can ask. Heck, one can get more financial help from parents as an adult in her 30s than was even possible for me as a college student. It is what it is. Everything was always my fault. Always. Even if it wasn't me that did it, it was still somehow my fault. I even moved away to live with my dad, and when my sibling did something bad my mom would call to yell at me about how it's my fault. If I were more clever and more stupid at the same time, I might have responded with something like, "So you're telling me I can control my sibling better than you can?" I had this too. Whenever I protested it'd always get the, "Well, she learned that behavior from somewhere," like, "Yeah, she learned it from you and dad." Goddamn. I hated being treated a lot older than I actually was, had so much more responsibility, was treated like a parent and rarely felt like I was a child. Well, to be honest, I miss the way my little sister used to look up to me like I was the coolest person alive. Now I'm just her older brother. You pretend to hate it as a kid, but she has her own life, friends, and role models now, and I miss the little toddler who used to follow me around everywhere. I do love seeing her and her fiancé doing well though. I'm proud of her. Knowing more about my parents than my siblings ever will or understand. The differences in upbringing is astronomical. I'm 33 and my mom has 4 younger boys and my dad has 3 younger boys. That I will never have someone to watch my back or defend me against our parents the way I do for them. Being their protector is innate when you're the oldest. You feel it naturally or it's drilled into you. I still do it as adults. Quit harassing X over his veganism. "Hey, I heard you had a tough week in med school. Are you okay?" etc. Those instincts don't come naturally to youngest siblings. Not that they're buttholes, but it isn't hardwired into the way they interact with me like it is the other way around. Or they have no empathy for the problems I'm going through because they haven't gone through them yet. I wish I had that. Blamed for everything. You're required to always be the responsible one. You're the one who takes the blame if anything goes wrong because you know better. I freaked out once on my parents when they were standing there berating me in the kitchen for not doing your chores, where your chores included my brothers. They were only facing me, only pointing at me, only talking, yelling at me, while over their shoulder, I can see my 2-year younger brother looking bored. So I snapped, "What about him? Why are you just yelling at me?" And so it goes. All the responsibility without the authority or privileges that should come with that responsibility. There were a lot of times so when it wasn't explicitly said, but the general attitude of "frick you, you're the oldest." I also remember having to help my younger siblings with their homework, which really meant doing it for them. I stood my ground on that one. All the responsibility without the authority or privileges that should come with that responsibility. Was always amazing. Watch your brother and make sure he does his homework. Okay, sure. Dude, go do your homework. Don't tell your brother what to do. Well, frick you too. The fact that I, a 15-year-old, have to share a room with an 8-year-old, and the 5-year-old gets his own goddamn room. Parents got to make all their parenting mistakes on me. Also, parents never had money with 3 kids until after I left the house. Parents also learned that being super ridiculously strict didn't work well either, so my brothers got to do whatever they wanted. Sometimes I think my brothers have a skewed sense of what their parenting was actually like, because they lived quite different childhoods than I did. Now they act like I was some kind of evil teenager because I rebelled, and they don't realize the living heck their childhood would have been if I didn't break them. WTH my punkness. Yeah, I got to watch The Simpsons, listen to rock music, and be able to leave the house ever without having to check in every 30 minutes like you guys did. Maybe I wouldn't have rebelled so hard, morons. The crap you cop when the middle sibling gets engaged, buys a house and has a baby before you do. Weird, I don't remember making a second account. I had to fight for every little thing. Staying up late, staying home when sick, getting my first phone, even though I paid, joining social media, going out with friends, having to get a job at 15, and especially what I took in college despite paying every single penny of it myself on loans. I love my little brother more than anything, but he will never know how hard I had to work for everything I have. When my dad had a mental breakdown and didn't work for almost a decade, I was the one who picked up the slack and took care of us. When we came on better times, he got everything he could ever want. I was happy for him, but it's really hard living with so much responsibility and so little love from your family. Maybe I'm just an entitled big sister. I don't know if I deserve to feel this way. Whenever they do something wrong, blame is on me. And my father says, if the engine is bad, the rest of train cabins are bad too. I'm the youngest of 5 kids, but growing up it always pissed me off that I'd get better gifts than my brothers. I'd get like a full set of baby doll clothes and toys, and my brother Sam would get like one Bionicle. I get there's an age gap, but I want him to be happy too. My parents always blamed this on me being too hard to shop for, and so I got clothes for the most part. Not something I think I realized as a child, but as an adult, the realization that my younger sibling was loved in a completely different way than I was. He was always my mom's baby, her own words, and when he got sick, I realized that his death was going to hurt my mom way more than mine ever would. I guess not having someone to turn to for help that will always be there. When my younger brother started in high school, he had no friends and so hung out with me and my friends until he made some of his own. When I started high school, I had no one for the longest time. Lots of things. I'm 11 months and 19 days older than my brother. I had to share a room with my brother from age 5 to age 14. I'd always be the first up and had to wake him up in the morning for school. When I got to high school, he would always be late for school because I wasn't there to wake him up. Now that he's in high school with me, I have to wake him up again. Being responsible for my brother's mistakes and being snitched on. Being the test dummy for rules in my teenage years. And even as I'm already rounding the 17-year mark, it's still like this. Watching my brother get taller than me over the years because of my mom's short genes. I don't necessarily hate this, but it seems like my parents have a lot more of a sense on how to parent my brother. Like he has his SAT prep and potential college plans laid out already as a sophomore in high school, when I didn't even know what I was doing yet. Being the third parent, I have to take a lot from my parents about my siblings and give a ton of advice. Having to learn everything the hard way, I had nobody to tell me what was what. My parents were both abusive, narcissistic anti-intellectuals. Most of my friends in early childhood were the same. I was like 19 before I felt truly happy for the first time. When I realized it, I also realized just how crappy my life had been up to that point. Instead of learning how to do things like date, make friends, and cultivate self-respect, I got bullied and fed bad advice by the dipshits I grew up with. One of the very few silver linings of the first 2/3 of my life so far is that I was able to help my younger brother avoid that crap. He's now way happier and way more successful than me, but he still looks up to me. Parents of Reddit with identical twins, what experiments are you secretly running? I have 15-year-old identical twin girls, and the only weird incident that ever happened with them was when they were in 5th grade, separate classes. They were asked to make a picture for art class of something to do with winter. They had made almost the exact same picture, a snowman, kids sliding and a house. Same amount of clouds in the sky with one bird and a bright sun. They had a choice to draw anything they wanted. I thought it was pretty neat. They ended up coming home with the same drawing. Twins are on their way now, any day now. I plan to name them both Christopher to see the confusion between men and people over the course of their lives. Our twins are mirror image, which makes them interesting to watch as they grow up. One is right-handed, the other is left. They naturally gravitate to the same places in the car, at the table, when they walk, etc. One is far-sighted in the right and nearsighted in the left. The other is the opposite. They have different personalities and swear the other one is the ugly one, even though most people can't tell them apart for a while. I constantly call their names wrong, but they are used to it and answer, unless it's for a chore. Then I get the sigh. Every so often I'll pinch one to see if the other will scream. I'm an identical twin, and my brother is 15 minutes older than me. When we were 20, our mom told us that we were part of an experiment where we were told the wrong birth order. At first neither of us believed her, but she showed us a document detailing the experiment. I laughed at it, but I didn't really care. Being the younger twin does not really matter to me. My brother, on the other hand, got irate. During our lives he has been the one to take the lead on things. This experiment completely undermined his role in our relationship. Turns out, there was no experiment. Our mom just wanted to see how we would react. My brother started seriously questioning some of his attitudes. I'm the older twin by about 15 minutes. The only thing that gets me is being able to say stupid jokes. Some of my favorites include, "Respect your elders," said with a crap-eating grin. "When I was your age." Proceed to tell him what I was doing 20 minutes ago. "You'll understand when you get older." Once again crap-eating grin accompanying this statement. I'm an identical twin and my dad liked to play baby wrestling. He'd lay out a blanket, put each of us in a corner and place a bottle in the center. We then had to wrestle and to the victor went the bottle. No secret experiments. They are adults now, but it was obvious they were 99.9% alike as little kids, so experiments didn't occur to us. They're still very alike with the major difference of having married women who couldn't be more different from one another. They're still very alike with the major difference of having married women who couldn't be more different from one another. Mother-in-law talk for one of them is a B. As someone with an identical twin brother, I can confirm that my parents were very curious to see if we would develop similar personalities and interests. And for the most part, we did. We're both somewhat introverted, my brother more so than me, but have basically the same interests and are essentially as smart as each other, although in slightly different areas. I think that we're more introverted partially because we actually got along and didn't have to find friends as much because we always had one who wasn't going anywhere. Also, my name starts with an A and his with a Z. And you wouldn't believe how many people ask if that was intentional. It wasn't. They just liked those names. Also the constant dong size question, which we've never tested and never will cause. That's weird, guys. You wouldn't ask your non-identical brother how big his dong was, would you? Twin brother here. Measured dongs when little. We generally dressed our boys with one in blue and the other in red. This was done mainly so there was a differentiator at a glance, and so photos would be somewhat easier to tell apart. 10 years in the future, now I'm trying to figure out if any of their individual personality quirks are related to that early decision. Easygoing versus stressed out, etc. Probably not, but I'm discovering parents worry about the stupidest stuff. When my brothers-in-law were young, their father told them they had been a mix-up in the hospital, so Fred was Dave and Dave was Fred. A crisis of self ensued, including switching personalities until he revealed the truth. He's not Fred, I am. Honestly, woman, you call yourself our mother? None yet, but I'll take suggestions. Tell them that every person has a twin. One good, one evil. Normally the evil twin is identified and taken away to Evil Twin Island, Australia. Obviously, yours are still together because you haven't been able to figure out which one is the evil one yet. Identical twin here. Up until 2 years ago, my brother and I were part of our parents' not so secret experiment. The plan was to not tell either of us who was the older twin, in this case by 45 mins, until our 21st birthday, the idea being that growing up one guy didn't think he was the elder brother so should call the shots all the time, and that by the time we reached 21 we would be mature enough to not care about it. The experiment completely backfired. They just managed to build it up for years. I still bring it up all the time that I won out and was officially crowned twin number 1. From my experience, they are all running the experiment. How much harder can I make it to keep the two straight by naming them Brayden and Brandon instead of just giving them two distinct names like a rational freaking adult? One of my best friends has twins. I asked him in jest one day which one got the soul. He feigned laughter with a haha, that is so funny, and then followed it up with a dead serious Sarah. When my twin brothers were little, my dad convinced them they have to share a brain. They each got half. He still likes to walk into whatever room they're in and loudly proclaim 2 boys, 1 brain. Son A gets Gatorade. Son B gets Powerade. Whoever dominates the other in academics and athletics by age 18 will go on to become the favorite son. I'm a woman who has a twin brother, so while not what OP was going for, my parents did various gender studies, so to speak. Not really deliberately, just stuff like if your boy and girl twins share a room, and that room is stocked with dolls and guns, Who's going to go for what? Answer. Neither of us went for the dolls, but bro went for the toy weapons and I just obsessed over the Legos. The funniest one my mom remembers though was getting passports for both of us and sending in the pictures for us both with the backs labeled. My brother was in a yellow onesie and I was in a turquoise blue one because it matched my eyes or some such. The passport office called to confirm with her that she labeled the pictures correctly, because surely the girl was the one dressed in yellow because blue is a boy color. Anyway, perhaps not what you wanted OP, but you looked like you were lacking answers so thought I'd provide one. As the youngest girl with 4 older brothers, my mom didn't bother buying me any girl toys until she found me playing house with a couple of cars. I have a twin brother. Our parents decided to name us the closet as possible. Our names are a letter difference and pronounced the same in certain cultures. Needless to say, the experiment wasn't so secret. In high school I wasn't in the yearbook for 3 years because I was thought to be a duplicate. We shared the same classes some years, which allowed for some freak ups when comes to grading. He would have never passed Algebra 2 without my grades. We now work at the same place but different departments. I get emails from his co-workers as he does mine. So thanks mom and dad, you have perfected the troll. We refuse to tell anyone who was born first because we don't want anyone, including them, to make any assumptions about them based on their age. Like this one is older so she's a leader, or that one is younger so she's more laid back, etc. Not even their grandparents know. Oh, and they're mirror identical twins, which is just an experiment in and of itself. Their cowlicks spin opposite directions. One favors her left hand. She still writes with her right hand but will paint and draw with her left hand. Fun times. I don't dress my twins, 22-month-old identical boys, alike, and their personalities are as different as they could be. Twin A is a cuddle bunny, but twin B, aka El Hafer, is not one to frick with. Last night he knocked over a block tower that my hubby was building with twin A, threw his hands up, and said, "What now?" It's funny and a little scary at the same time. I've always wanted to switch families for a day just to see how long it would take for them to notice, but no. My brother's a B. Probably scared you would frick his wife. Not a twin, but my brother and I look very similar, except for his facial hair, as I am a lady without facial hair, but we have the same coloring, same big curly hair, same face, same kind of shape, vocal tones, laugh, etc. Every time I visit, his baby son gets very confused and looks back and forth to both of us trying to figure out why he has 2 daddies. It's very cute. My dad's brother looked a lot like him. My nephew was about 2 when my uncle came to visit the first time. My dad had stepped out, so when my nephew arrived, it was just my uncle there. Well, my nephew assumed it was his grandpa and climbed right up in his lap. He was as happy as could be until my dad walked in. He was freaked out, to say the least. Mine are adults now, and one of them even has her own twins, but they are fraternal. Anyway, just last year our identical twins told us that one of the things we did as parents actually worked. We tried not to raise them as twins. We said they were sisters who had the same birthday. We didn't let other family members call them the twins. We insisted on individual names. We did not dress them alike. They were in different classrooms whenever the school had 2 classes for the same grade. So, last year they told us that they did not realize they were twins until sometime around 3rd grade. They both remember sitting in their bunk beds in 2nd grade and talking about how it would be fun to have a twin. I'll call that a parenting success. My mom had an identical twin who is my aunt. Obviously, my aunt is taller, maybe 5 feet 6 inches. My mom is about 2 inches shorter. My mom told me this experience that they had the same dream about a dark tall figure standing over them in their bedroom when they were 9. It didn't say anything, just stood there in the same spot. In both of their dreams they both woke up at the same time and just stared at the spot all night. Definitely kinda scary, but that's the only thing like that has happened to them. Pretty sure there was just a dude in their room. We have fraternal twins. Only my wife and I know which one was born first. We want to see what happens when neither can claim to be the older sibling. They just turned 2. Good luck with that. Our fraternal twins are 6 and have recently started having screaming matches with each other over who is oldest. We're not telling. I had to separate them the other day before it got bloody. Good times. When we were little babies, our parents would put special socks on our feet to tell us apart. Our older brothers liked to switch the socks to confuse our parents. There's a 50/50 chance I'm actually my sister. A friend of mine has twins with the same issue. She has no idea which baby was named what at the hospital but says I'm pretty sure I haven't switched them since maybe 5 months. Identical twin here. When I was learning to write, my uncle was living with us and becoming a neurologist at the same time. At my high school graduation he asked me if I was still left-handed. Little did I know, when I was a toddler he would color with us and move the crayon I was drawing with from my right hand to my left. I'm still left-handed BTW. I have an identical twin brother. We're so similar it's stupid. We shared a room, played all the same sports, have the same group of friends, roomed together in college, have an apartment together, and work in similar fields. My parents didn't even need to do anything to enjoy observing any nature versus nurture between us. They told us we didn't have to do everything together if we didn't want to, but we didn't care. We would occasionally dress the same for fun and switched places on more than one occasion. It's a fun time. Finding ways to see if there is some weird connection between them. I have identical 3-year-old girls. The girls had a couple small stuffed bunnies from Easter they were obsessed with during this time. One of them was in the hospital a while back for a respiratory illness. One night she was saying her sister wanted her bunny very adamantly. Her sister was staying with my mom an hour away and out of sheer curiosity I called and asked my mom if that twin was looking for her stuffed bunny at the time. She was. Now it is likely pure coincidence since they both love the bunnies at this time, but I like looking for any weird connections between them that just make me go WTF, how do you know that? My twins are but 3.5 years old, but one of the biggest trip up I have is they will shift personalities. I call it body swapping as a joke, and no I know I am not confusing them. Just randomly one day the quirks one had, latest was sniffing armpits to fall asleep, will just transfer to the other, and the first one that was oh so obsessed now could care less. It happens approximately every 4 months. And at this point I feel like my husband and I should start placing bets on what habit or obsession is going to be transferred next time. Winner gets a spa day. Show one The Office US. Show the other The Office UK. Then, let nurture do its thing. Well, the one with the UK version will be done a lot sooner. We actually had boy-girl twins that looked very much alike as babies. People would ask us, are they identical? We would say, no, it's a boy and a girl. People more often than not, genuinely, would say, yay, but they look an awful lot alike. How do you know they are not identical? Dang, twins run in my family, none in my generation, but I'm told it sometimes skips one. And this thread is giving me horrible, awesome ideas in case I ever end up with them. I have fraternal twin boys. I always thought it would be hilarious to circumcise one, but not the other. Wife did not agree. Foreskin for everyone. Eeny meeny miny wennis. One of you will lose some penis. Children in multi-sibling households. What lessons did you learn that the only child might never get? It's all fun and games till you hurt your sibling. Then you have to convince them that they are fine and suggesting to them that they can't hit you back, but just don't tell mom. Or just act like you got hurt too. We hurt together. When you are an only child, the parents know who did it. That's parenting on easy mode. If you don't want your older brothers to eat your food you've saved for later, ensure that they witness you licking the food all over before putting it in the fridge. Also, you need to make sure that they care. When you can hit me back is not effective, you have gone too far and actually owe an apology. Or you've created a manipulative psychopath, in which case you owe an apology to the world. You actually won't know which it is for years. I'm pretty sure every sibling has a panic "I didn't hit you that hard, stop crying," or mom will hear story, and offering punchbacks was sometimes your last resort. If it didn't work, you went way too far. How to brush off insults. Yeah, I feel like my large family had a big part in shaping my sense of humor. I rarely get truly offended. All resources are limited. The only reward for second place is a cold shower and starvation. That it is a lawless world where it doesn't matter whose turn it is on the Xbox. And you better save frequently, because inevitably one of your siblings is going to get mad and just unplug it from the wall. Not really a lesson, but having someone to commiserate with have your back when your parents aren't being reasonable. Leftovers? What leftovers? You would have to fight for and hide them like water in the apocalypse. When you're getting food in the middle of a show, carry the TV remote with you. But you have to accept that you will lose the favored share. No way around that one. Asterisk. When the WWE says don't try these moves at home, they don't actually mean it. Kids are light, squishy and weak. It's a lot harder for them to accidentally do real damage. That my brother did it. There's no proof it was me. Hand-me-down clothing is often a practical necessity in multi-sibling households. I still, at 30, get more excited about hand-me-downs than new clothes. If my brother got a cool jacket, I would think, I'm gonna look good in that in 2 years. He better look after it. Eat it now or it won't be there when you want it later. It doesn't matter what happened, it only matters that you can convince people what happened. The skills of persuasion that will be useful in sales and law. The opposite gender is no great mystery when you've got mixed sibs. Bathrooms, the horrors one can't unsee. If one of your siblings is getting in trouble, just keep your mouth shut so you don't get sucked in. The art of borrowing clothes and avoiding the sibling all day at the school until you can get home. How to act completely ignorant of what happened. Where was your sister? Mom asks. I say, I don't know. I was asleep in my room the whole night. In reality, I was awake playing video games with a walkie-talkie, keeping tabs on her the whole time and letting her know when I hear anything downstairs, and I told her to come home when I heard our mom go to the bathroom. So she'd be in the yard when mom went looking. The art of blackmail, camaraderie and having tons of time to hatch plans and build stuff. Learning to deal with and enjoy people you don't choose to be around because you don't pick your siblings or their personalities. My sister got kicked out one night because she snuck out. You bet your butt I'll let her back in, and woke her up before my mom so she could leave again. Mayo. As the oldest child, because you get there first for everything, you may be punished more or less severely than your siblings for the same offense. This will pee off every other sibling. Also, there is an unspoken code of if the parents weren't home with $object broke, nobody saw it break, they'll try to prisoner's dilemma all of the kids. The more expensive and or difficult to replace the object, the less any of the kids saw anything. Even if it could be proved that everyone was in the room when the item broke, nobody saw it happen. Why? Because this time you're covering for your sibling. Next time they will cover for you. It is a bond that will only be broken once, because if it does break the next time the kids are alone, the snitch is gonna get beat on real good. Parents always make their worst mistakes with their oldest children. That's when parents know the least and care the most, so they're more likely to be wrong and also more likely to insist that they're right. Orson Scott Card, Xenocide. Pizza is not a meal. It's a race. Ain't this the truth? I'm almost 40 and I still eat pizza too fast. And I don't have a fresh digestive system that'll handle it. Okay. As the youngest sibling, I will always and forever be player 2 when it comes to any multiplayer video game. Hey, at least you weren't given an unplugged controller. Your parents can look right at you and call you someone else's name and expect you to respond lol. My parents couldn't keep the names straight between us, so I got called my sister's name, the dog's name, the neighbor's kid's name. They'd also combine our names, so when they called us they were somewhat right all the time. God bless, they are good parents yo. It's pretty cliche, but how much fun it can be to pick on your siblings while wanting to kill anyone else who does it. My brother and his friends used to pin me down and spit in my eyes. Yet one time a random dude at school slapped me and my brother witnessed it. He punched out one of his teeth and threw him down a set of steps. A sibling relationship is a conflicting one at times. That your parents can have a favorite child. Teamwork. I have a bunch of brothers. My dad early on would punish you if caught in the wrong, but if you were tattling you got double. So instead of telling on each other we worked together to stay out of trouble. It made my mom mad when she demanded who did something. She would threaten to punish all of us if one of us didn't confess. We all maintained our silence and accepted mass punishment. Afterwards, me and my brothers would talk over how we got caught, what mistakes were made and how to avoid it in the future. To this day we are all very close, And though we are all scattered around the world, we still talk 3-4 times a week. This is my favorite. My kids have their moments where they argue over anything and everything, but dang, do they team up with fantastic attitudes to keep the iron fist away. There are times I am aware of their scheming and I let it go cause teamwork is important and they are learning so many things that can be applied later in life in less devious applications. Your younger sister might be physically much weaker, but if she has been dancing since she was 5, her legs are super strong. Don't put yourself in their range when fighting. When my sister and I fight we have one rule: no kicking. My years of soccer and her years of gymnastics make it so that odds are whoever gets the first kick will likely win that fight. Negotiation. Nothing like rallying your siblings to your side when you have a common enemy, normally mom, and then negotiating the distribution of the result of your efforts. I'm the only girl and the baby. Set me up well for my career negotiating with angry dudes all the time. Only girl with 2 older brothers. Get along great with my colleagues in the male-dominated field of mechanical engineering. I'm positive having 2 big brothers helped set me up for this dynamic. That not me is in butthole and does everything. My mom would say it was freaking Casper doing everything in our house because no one did it. If it's snowing you will get some put down your shirt. If you're lucky like me, you learn what true camaraderie is. My brother is one of my best friends and I would do anything for him. You can develop that bond with people you aren't related to, sure, but to have that bond with someone you lived with and grew up with, most every day for nearly the first 2 decades of your life, it's something else. Of course I'd never say that to his face because I'd get crap for it for years. I never had a really awful awkward phase, still had one, it just wasn't as bad as most people's, because my older brother already had his and tried really hard to make sure I didn't have one. Sharing is not just for when your friends come over, it is all the time, every day, of every minute. Then there is the great realization that if you buy something and don't want to share it with someone else, you hide it. Sometimes you're just going to get sat on for no reason. The weakest link belongs in the back seat. How to argue without going for the jugular. I'm oldest of 4 and we could argue, scrap and wrestle without causing much damage no matter how angry we were. Even now, we'll disagree but get over it immediately without being hurtful. You need that skill to survive in a family and indeed, the world. My ex was an only child without cousins and was horrified by fighting of any kind. But when he did get into it he was the nastiest, cruelest, most vicious person. He'd say some truly awful things without seeming to realize he'd have to live with these people or in that community after the dust settled. He never learned to play fight or about boundaries and was unable to understand our son's rough and tumble. He'd wade into any kind of light-hearted, laughing wrestling and stamp it out. It took me forever to teach him that all children need to learn how to argue and even physically scrap in order to learn boundaries and respect for each other and themselves. Sharing isn't about caring. It's about not getting in trouble with parents. Always be prepared to be bothered when the other is bored. Bored siblings will literally stir the pot for shoots and giggles. You'll spend hours taking turns trying to beat at one level, and when one of you does it you'll be ecstatic for the other person. I beat the last boss in Kingdom Hearts while my brother was out of the room. We had played the whole game together. I still feel bad. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. 2 quarters is more than $1 because 2 is more than 1. Thank you for the dollar. You made a good, fair trade today. We used to pay off my brother in pennies. It was great. When you want a soda in the fridge, you put 2 in, 1 at the front, meant to be stolen, and 1 in the vegetable drawer for yourself. Being a younger sibling is a blessing. First of all, your parents have hopefully refined their parenting skills by the time you're born. And secondly, older siblings are a great example of what not to do as you grow up. How to share something fairly. 1 donut left but 2 kids. One cuts it and the other picks his piece first. Redditors who are married to someone with an identical twin. What are your feelings towards the twin? My boyfriend's twin is like a brother to me. It's nice to be able to talk to him when I'm concerned about since he knows how he thinks. When his twin says I have nothing to worry about, I know there isn't. Finally a nice response. Everything above so far was my so's twin is evil. This was nice. I'm an identical twin, and the day me and my husband are getting married, my mother says to me, "Hey, did you know in high school that husband really had the hots for my twin sister?" Weird how apparently he had told my mother this in confidence when he went and bought my wedding present, and she felt the need to tell me this on my wedding day. I bring it up constantly now because it crushed me on my wedding day, and now I find it hilarious. What a horrible thing to say to you on your wedding day. I'm married to an identical twin. I always say I married the hot one. There are more personality differences than you think. I hope you're not my wife's twin's husband, because I married the hot one. I married an identical twin. They have a very similar personality, so I get along with my wife's twin very well. When her twin comes to visit, they will exchange clothes sometimes. I saw my wife come out and go back to the room, then saw my wife's twin come out with a different outfit, thought it was my wife. She went back in another time and changed shirts again. I was getting annoyed because I figured it was my wife changing for the third time. Nope, just the twin trying on 2 shirts. When we got married, my mom was helping my wife put together her bouquet of flowers. She had to get her makeup done, so she left the room and my wife's twin stepped in without missing a beat. My mom went on to have a 20-minute heart-to-heart with who she thought was her future daughter-in-law. I finally overheard something and told my mom it was her twin. Poor mom. Just mark your wife's hand with a Sharpie. Not married, but an ex-relationship. Let's call the twins Chad and Charles. I had maybe one class with Charles, and we never spoke. Then, I started to have classes with Chad, and we were inseparable. He wasn't only my boyfriend, but also my best friend. Anyways, he broke up with me out of nowhere. Every time I saw him after that, he would act like a supreme butthole towards me. I never knew what I did to deserve that, but it hurt a lot. When high school ended, Chad went to an out-of-state college, and Charles ended up going to the same college as me. Fast forward to the first day of sophomore year of college. Charles and I had the same class together. It's a huge lecture hall. He could sit wherever he wants, but he chooses to sit next to me. I didn't even notice until he said hi to me. I just responded hey back. Then, he proceeded to apologize for being mean to me in high school. I was super confused, but I figured he felt bad that he stopped talking to me after Chad and I broke up. I said, "Oh, don't worry about that. It was so long ago. If anything, it's your brother who should apologize." "My brother?" he asked. "Yeah, Chad was such a dong after we broke up. Seriously, frick that guy." Now, I knew that I was saying this to his brother, but the two of them weren't that close. I doubted that he would ever tell Chad that I said that. Even if he did, I wouldn't have cared. Charles just responded with, "Oh right, Chad." Then, class began. We started taking notes. Charles was writing with his left hand. I thought it was odd and told him, "Wait, I never knew you were left-handed too." I thought it was just Chad. He just gave me a little nod, and we went back to taking notes. Because I can be kind of slow sometimes, things didn't click in my brain until after class. I rushed to Facebook and looked at Chad's profile. He had just transferred to the same college as me. I was talking to him the entire time. Edit. I'm making this edit after almost 2 weeks. I was going to do it before, but I didn't think anyone else would read it. Anyways, there were a few comments telling me to reach out to him and ask him what went wrong. So I went to Facebook and looked him up. Turns out I'm blocked. Then, I remembered that he blocked me right after he broke up with me. Not only on Facebook, but on all social media. On our college's student portal, there's a tab where you can look at the list of all the students in your class. That's how I ended up finding out that it was Chad I was talking to the entire time. So yeah, I basically have no way to communicate with him unless I see him in person. If I do see him and start talking, hopefully it won't be Charles and I end up making a fool out of myself again, haha. I thought you were gonna say that Chad was actually a nickname for Charles and that it turns out they weren't twins at all but the same person the entire time. Married to an identical twin. It's funny, I met my husband on Tinder, and both him and his twin had profiles. I often think, what if I would have swiped right on his twin first? It most definitely wouldn't have worked. Not because I dislike my husband's twin, but because our personalities simply don't click that way. Regardless, I have a very close relationship with my husband's twin. I think of him as my protector, and I hope he thinks the same of me. When he moved to our town for a job, he actually lived with us for 6 months, despite the fact that my husband and I were newly married. I look back on that time very fondly. We grew really close. I feel very lucky to have such a great relationship with him. My dad is an identical twin, so I have an uncle dad. That's weird to type and say out loud. My grandfather, who lived in a different state, was an identical twin. I met his brother for the first time at my grandfather's funeral. He looked and sounded just like my grandpa. It was pretty difficult to process in that moment. All I can say is that I'm definitely married to the nice one. Married to an identical twin going on 8 years. When I first found out, I thought it would be wacky and entertaining like a movie, but it sucks. But her twin is a psycho and one of the worst people I've ever met. She wants to be the alpha twin. They are so competitive about everything. Been married to her twin for going on 8 years, and dating several years in high school. Before that too. Her sister was a bit crazy, but she's mellowed out a lot now. I have a friend who's married to an identical triplet. One time he was visiting his sil and she asked him to leave the room because she was going to nurse her baby. His reply: "I've already seen everything you have, so no need for me to leave." The sil wasn't too happy with that response. I'm not identical, but I am a triplet where my brother and I look very similar. All of my brother's ex-GFs bond with me afterwards, even if we didn't like each other before. I think it's because we both know that my brother's a complete butthole. I'm an identical twin. My twin is dead. Wife has no feelings as far as I can tell. I'm an identical twin. My twin is dead. Same here. Sorry for your loss. I dated a twin. Her sister's boyfriend had the same car as me. Sounds like a lie so that you could own both of them, lol. My sister-in-law's ex-husband is a twin. He left her and it took her a long time to move on because she would keep hanging out with the twin and his wife. Twin is my wife's evil copy. Wouldn't touch that mess if my life depended on it. Not much of anything. He's my brother-in-law. And honestly, they look less alike than some fraternal twins I know. They have very different personalities. And his brother is totally not my type. That didn't stop me from asking some curious questions though. 1. If we were to find my husband was infertile, would he agree to using his brother as a donor? Not in the I'd have sex with him way because I mean, it's literally the exact same DNA. Hubby said definitely no. 2. If we have kids, and he has kids, they are cousins. But are they also technically half siblings, since they're half identical DNA, half other mothers? Hubby called me weird. I think these are legitimate questions. My twin brother and I had this conversation when he found out his cancer treatments were going to leave him sterile. Without a doubt I'd have donated for him, but considering he was single at the time, and sadly didn't win that fight, it wasn't ever something I had to do, but I would have in a heartbeat. Same DNA. I don't know, it wouldn't have been weird to me. I am married to one of inseparable identical twins. My wife and her sister are two peas in a pod and extremely dependent on each other. I knew when I married one I was marrying half of the other one too. But I love my wife so much, including her sister in the picture too. My wife's sister is always at our place as much as my wife is at her sister's place. We do have a good dynamic, understanding about the relationships, and we have no boundaries broken. Way late to the party, but I know a woman whose husband cheated on her with her identical twin, then got her twin pregnant, divorced her and married her twin. I guess you could say he liked her better. Thanksgivings just don't happen anymore. These are the kind of stories we came here for. I'm one of triplets. 2 girls and a boy. My sister and I are identical, but our brother doesn't look anything like us. Most people don't believe us when we tell them who our brother is. We're not married, but my boyfriend also has a twin brother. They look a lot alike, but it was easy telling them apart early on. My boyfriend is more social and relaxed with people, while his brother is more introverted and sometimes even socially awkward. Because I myself have a twin, it's not weird to me, so I treat his brother the same way as if they weren't twins. Yes, hello, you've summoned me. Satan, I mean, me, your twin sister. My husband is an identical twin. It's weird, because sometimes, especially when walking around or doing something, I really have to watch out not to mix them up. Then, when sitting down or whenever it is absolutely clear who is who, I find the twin looks nothing like my husband and I find him kind of unattractive. I went to school with 3 sets of identical twins. After getting to know them, you notice the small differences. People got freaked out that I could easily tell the difference between them. I am an identical twin and all my brother's ex-GFs always distanced themselves from me even if we were friends prior to them dating. But his current GF and I are very close. I really hope they get married. They have my seal of approval. Not quite what you were asking, but I dated a twin in high school. We were both very reserved, quiet people. His twin brother was much more outgoing and happened to have a girlfriend that looked a lot like me. Same hair color and build, at least. They would make out everywhere with absolutely no shame. One day my boyfriend and I got pulled into the principal's office to talk about our inappropriate behavior at school. It was humiliating. When we're finally able to stammer through our explanation that no, you've got the wrong couple, the principal was very kind about it and we had a good laugh. But I'm sure I was tomato red for the whole conversation. That sounds like a good side plot to a teen movie. I'm a twin, but despite being identical we don't really look alike. I had some birth defects that stunted my growth, and she's 6 inches taller. My husband was friends with my sister before we started dating. They met while doing a play together, and we didn't meet until a few months later. They actually played a couple and had kissing scenes, so he's one of probably few people who can say he's kissed twins. While he thinks my sister looks nice, and she is objectively pretty, he's never been attracted to her. Holy crap, I think you're my boyfriend's female counterpart. He's also got an identical twin who's 6 inches taller thanks to birth defects stunting his growth, and I also kissed his twin in a non-romantic context before we started dating. My husband was born with a mostly absorbed identical twin. The doctors removed it and all he has is a tiny scar, but I crap you not, he has 2 personalities. Sometimes I think that half of his brain is one twin and the other half is the other. He also refers to himself as we a lot without much thought. Have an upvote for some Stephen King crap. Okay, story time. I met a guy on a dating app. We'll call him T. We talked for a bit and then met up at a bar for a few drinks. As far as dates go, it was pretty awkward. T was pretty cute, but he was a bit of a disaster. At one point he mentioned he had a brother who he thought I'd get along with pretty well, and I, jokingly, asked him for his brother's number. I mean, the date was going terribly. What did I have to lose? He didn't give me the number. The date ended. We went our separate ways. Then, months later, I meet another guy through the same dating app. We start talking. Come to find out, he is T's brother. Not just any brother, he is his identical twin. We hit it off. His personality is basically the opposite of T's. We're still together today. Life is weird. Plot twist. What if T never really had a twin but pretended to be his brother and switched personalities to get a second chance with you? I dated twin brothers in 6th grade. One asked me out one day and then the other asked me out later that week. I didn't realize what a boyfriend was then. I also didn't realize you can't have 2 at the same time even if they are twins. They were both arrested for hate crimes as adults. I guess I dodged 2 bullets. Honestly, that caught me off guard. Haha, glad you were able to avoid that bad news. I'm married to an identical twin. They are very dependent of each other but fight like you won't believe. I have tons of funny stories because I lived with both of them for a little while. When they get angry, they kinda black out and call each other nasty stuff that makes no sense. For example, they will call each other ugly cows. They are 100% identical. Also, they both sleepwalk a lot, like every night. I woke up once to my wife, then girlfriend, putting her rollerblades on at night while her sister was walking around the apartment with a stuff atop like a tray and a wooden spoon. She was dreaming of being a waitress, I guess. I just went back to bed. Also, you know that scene in Paranormal Activity where the wife stands by the bed staring at her husband for hours? Yep, that's just a Tuesday for me. As for my feelings toward her twin, she's like a sister only, nothing more. OMG, I couldn't handle that happening while I sleep. My dad is a twin. My mom actually dated his twin first, and when they broke up, my dad asked her out. My uncle is now married to a nice woman with the same first name as my mom. My sister-in-law is married to an identical twin. The only noticeable difference between the two is the twin stands up straighter. From what I understand, she is incredibly attracted to the twin, obviously, right, and doesn't allow herself to be drunk around him. It causes me anxiety to think about that. Edit. I'm not the twin. Sil is my wife's sister. My auntie lost her husband and father of her child in the war. She married his twin brother afterwards. Not married, but my girlfriend has an identical twin and she is her complete polar opposite and a giant C. I always tell her it's easy to know which of them is the evil twin. Ursula. I love my husband's twin like he's my brother too. He even calls me sis. They look so different that I haven't had any conflicting feelings, and would never mistake them unless their backs were turned to me. My husband wears his hair a little longer and is clean shaven, and is typically dressed for the office. His brother keeps his hair buzzed short and wears a long beard, and dresses to work outside. They sound like the Property Brothers. Not married, but I'm in a long-term relationship with an identical twin, and as far as I know, I'm the only person who has kissed both of them. I actually was friends with both twins for years before I started dating one of them. I met my current BF first and had a huge crush on him, but he was very reserved and hard to get close to. When I met his twin, I had a small crush on him, just because he reminded me of my crush, but was more outgoing and easier to befriend. His twin is super flirty too, and ended up kissing me while I was working at a kissing booth at a weird Valentine's Day party. That ended up being slightly awkward when my BF and I finally got together after 4 years of friendship, but he knows about it and doesn't really care. And now that I've got the real thing, I don't have any attraction to his brother and just see him as a good friend. Sure, he's got the same facial structure and mannerisms as my boyfriend, but they have very different styles. The twin is a cool guy and cute enough, but my boyfriend has been through hardships that his twin has not, and he's developed a unique depth of character and humility from his experiences that makes him a very sexy, magnetic person. Waiting for the exciting plot twist in which someone dating an identical twin also pretends to be an identical twin to be able to have a relationship with both of the twins. My husband is actually a triplet. His brother is a K. Hair on my nerves. Their personalities are completely different. His sister is cool, but I don't see that going anywhere either. I'm actually quite fond of him, but my husband's twin is gay and my husband is not, so I imagine that changes the dynamics quite a bit. We talk about guys and relationships and watch a lot of Real Housewives together. The three of us lived together for a while before my husband and I got married, and it was fun. Sometimes I'll look at him and think, huh, so that's what my husband would look like if he showered and shaved and cared about his wardrobe. Good to know. Huh, so that's what my husband would look like if he showered and shaved and cared about his wardrobe. Good to know. This made me laugh, as I'm trying to decide if I should shave this month. My wife has a twin sister who was my ex during our teen years. I treasure the moments that I had with her in the past and being able to grow together now that she's my sister-in-law. Fun fact, her twin sister is married to my buddy who was the ex to my wife. We sometimes joke about it, wondering how life would be if we didn't swap partners. I'm married to her twin and she asked me if I found her sister attractive. I said, of course, I do. You're twins. If I find you attractive, then it would be illogical for me not to find her attractive, too. Thankfully, she laughed and agreed with me. Went out with a twin back in the day. Their nickname for each other was Ugly. B. In all seriousness, this has been the case for some couples where the twin partner ends up developing fertility issues, whilst their twin has not. The fertile twin, Plan B, can offer their sperm or eggs for in vitro fertilization, or, if female, just select to be the birth mother herself, resulting in a child who is, in every way, genetically the offspring of the couple. It's pretty cool. This mouse is looking for friends in the comments. Comment mouse boy to befriend him. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.